Penalty shootouts. The emotional drama that is evident, extravagantly highlighted afore. They are like Marmite. You either crack under the pressure or rise to the occasion. One walk, one kick. Only the keeper to beat. This is the science behind penalty shootout.
And it got me thinking, is this really real? You know I'm about it every day. Is this really real? You know, and it's cloudy every day. You know it is.
Penalty shootouts. The 50-50 fortune or loss of a tied football match. The emotion, the real life drama, and other hyperbole. When it comes to penalty kicks, many pundits still refer to the traditional matches like good fortune and intuition are the most important components of success. They're wrong. Well, to a certain extent. When teams assemble to discuss the potential possibility of shootouts, they do not talk luck or fate. Instead, they talk science. This video is the science of penalty shootouts from the point of view of the manager and the penalty taker. The penalty kick was invented in the year 1890 by an Irish goalkeeper by the name of William McCrubb, who played for Milford FC. McCrubb realised that defenders were finding it easy to stop oncoming attackers from scoring a goal by failing them close to the goal, within the 12-yard area. Seems fashions come around then. The proposition was to make the penalty kick a law was to prevent this very dirty trick used by defenders. The proposition was accepted and it became part of the rules number 13 in 1891. It is unclear when the first penalty shootout was invented or took place. However, Israeli Yosef Dagan is credited with originating the modern shootout after watching the Israeli team lose the 1968 Olympic quarter-final game against Bulgaria by drawing lots in Mexico. In order to get to the latter stages of the FIFA World Cup, there is a 1 in 4 chance that you may be in a penalty shootout.
If you look at sort of penalty shootouts in World Cups, for instance, success rate would be around about 80%. Drops to sort of 77% during a shootout for the first few penalties. Curiously, if you're taking a penalty to keep the team in the tournament, experience of, it drops to 44%. So you know that as you walk up to the ball, the world's media and TV cameras watching, historically you've got less than a 50% chance of scoring that penalty.
The success rates for a penalty in normal play are about 80%. It drops to around 75% in a shootout for reasons that are very clear. In a shootout, for example, you can't follow up on a shot and score as you can in a normal penalty. You have to do the business with one shot. Secondly, you must pick from less experienced players in your team. You can't simply use the best strikers. And finally, of course, the keeper gets more and more savvy as the shootout progresses, more and more likely to make a save.
So there clearly is a difference between taking a penalty in normal time than compared to taking a penalty during a shootout. There also appears to be a discrepancy between some teams having high success rates, like Germany with over 80% success in a penalty shootout, compared to teams like the Netherlands who have only around 18% success rates. So this clearly indicates it's not just a 50-50 chance as previously summarised. So why is there this discrepancy?
I think the reasons for these differences are quite clear. It's failure to prepare mentally and failure to take practicing penalties really seriously.
The best piece of advice is practice. There's a wonderful saying that says, the more I practice, the luckier I get. And it's absolutely true. It's about practice, practice, practice. And what practice does for you is it creates confidence.
Preparation, you create the outcomes that you want. How through preparation you create future history. It's through training, it's through getting the mind right, it's developing great routines that are robust under pressure.
You need to be confident in being able to shoot the ball hard and accurate. And so you pick your 4 penalties and you practice and practice and practice.
So you're trying to execute the skill perfectly on a continual basis.
In other words, penalty shootouts can be practiced, mastered and perfected. And players should not focus or hope for luck purely on its own.
Picking the right players for a penalty shootout is a vital task. It's the responsibility of the coach, and emphatically, not the players themselves. In fact, the only thing that should rule a player out at that critical point is injury. Too often in the past, we've seen England coaches wandering around at the end of extra time asking, who's up for a penalty? Coaches should know the success rates of penalty takers in their squad and pick from this list for the actual shootout. And finally, coaches should think about the order in which their players will take a penalty in the shootout. Research has shown that there is an advantage if you play your less experienced players first and save the most experienced to last.
A weak penalty taker lives on hope because they haven't developed mastership of their craft. So when they run up to take a pen, there's an element of doubt. They hope the ball goes in. And you can see it in how they strike the pen. It's not struck with conviction. It's struck with hope that the keeper will dive the wrong way, or the footballing gods are looking down kindly upon them.
In 1997, the kick rules were amended to allow goalkeepers to move sideways along the goal line prior to the ball being kicked. The importance of the rule change has been highlighted in kicking research, which shows that if the goalkeeper has a greater opportunity to distract the player, it results in a higher percentage of saved penalties. This is particularly the case in situations that provoke high levels of anxiety for the penalty shooter. In this sense, it's important that the kicker isn't distracted by the goalkeeper when lining up to take a penalty kick.
When a player's turn to take a penalty comes round, he or she must be focusing strongly on the optimum placement of the shot. Our research at Bath shows that goalies have only a finite reach in attempting a save. We call this limit the diving envelope, which is about as far as a goalie can reach in a full-blooded dive. But this is really the limit of a fingertip save, and so strikers can place the ball close to the diving envelope or even a little inside with reasonable chances of success. We call the area outside of the diving envelope the unsavable zone. Our research shows that just over 80% of shots played into this area succeed. But that doesn't mean, of course, that shots played inside the diving envelope will all be saved. In fact, the success rate here is around 50%. But why take the risk of a 50-50 shot when there's such an attractive and easy to reach placement for a reasonably skilled performer?
What I'd like to do and show a player is to actually be able to make those targets for the mind a little bit something more imaginative than just a target. So for example, you can make top left a colour, say the colour white, or bottom left the colour red, or top right the colour yellow, or bottom right the colour green, or centre the colour blue. And it makes it much easier for the mind to hold that picture whilst you're walking back before you take the pen.
Within a penalty shootout, you are likely to see all different types of techniques. Fundamentally though, there are two main ways to take a spot kick: goalkeeper independent or goalkeeper dependent. The goalkeeper dependent method involves waiting for the keeper to make a move before stroking the ball into the vacant part of the goal. The trick, as per the stutter step rule, is to maintain continuous forward movement while keeping an eye on the keeper and hoping he or she commits to one side of the goal. It is easy to see how this could go wrong if you lost your nerve halfway through. Another negative with the goalkeeper dependent method is if the goalkeeper does not fall for the actions of the penalty taker and therefore has a greater chance of guessing where that ball is going to be struck The goalkeeper independent method of penalty taking involves the taker picking where they are likely to hit the ball and attempting to hit it there without paying any attention to what the goalkeeper is doing. By taking this type of penalty, you're running the risk that the goalkeeper is going to guess correctly and dive to the side of the goal in which you're trying to score. It is therefore necessary to try to place your kick towards the extremities of the frame of the goal. Goalkeepers will often subconsciously or consciously stand off centre to the direction where they think the ball will go in order to make a save. There has been instances, especially from other sports, where goalkeepers will stand off centre deliberately, leaving a larger gap to entice the shooter to shoot in that direction, only to then make a quick adjustment mid-shot.
Best chance to actually save the kick is to not move at all. However, you know, there's a asterisk next to that. The psychological theory that's at play, it's called action bias. And so what a keeper, whether they know this or not, they experience this bias towards movement, towards acting on something. And the theory behind it, that I reference called action bias, is how they're going to feel after the event. So if they don't move and the shot goes right and it goes in, they're going to have that reaction of like, why didn't you do anything? So they would rather move, even if they're diving the wrong way, which, you know, they often will, but at least they attempted to do something. So it looks like they did something, even if they haven't increased their statistical chances of making a stop.
Action bias is attenuated the longer a shootout occurs. The penalty taker is also respondent to action bias, as peripheral vision is sensitive to motion, so a player can keep his eye on the ball and still see the way the keeper is moving. From the penalty spot, disregarding spin, a player has an angle of about 40 degrees, varying laterally. At the point of kicking the ball, that is effectively adjusting your foot forward or backwards by 2 inches. Skilled players typically approach the ball at an angle of about 45 degrees, with 0 degrees being directly behind the ball. This helps to facilitate maximal ball speed and also to allow for more options when striking the ball. Approaching the ball at such an angle also helps the player to incline the kicking leg away from the supporting leg. This is thought to improve the foot-to-ball contact by enabling the kicking foot to be placed underneath the ball. The speed the players approach and run up to the ball will be different for each person. This is important as research by Anderson and Dorge shows that footballers produce their highest ball speeds when using a self-selected speed of approach. A 40 degrees angle of approach allows the kicking leg to get underneath the ball for a better contact, facilitating maximal velocity as objects go faster through the air than on the ground, as they are being restricted by less friction.
We also see what's called a stretch shortening cycle, where the body essentially acts like a bow and arrow with a rapid stretch followed by a quick contraction.
The backswing phase of a kick is crucial. This is crucial for stretching the muscles of the upper and lower body to an optimal length to help generate greater muscle force. Elite footballers perform this phase of the kick by extending the kicking leg, rotating the torso and extending the non-kick side shoulder backwards through a large range of motion. During the forward phase of the kick, the muscles contract, rotating the torso and flexing the non-kick side shoulder towards the kicking leg. On top of this, the kicking leg is coordinated in a specific sequence. The hips pop, flexing forward, followed by the knee extension, resulting in the foot accelerating through the ball. The next thing to consider as a penalty taker is whether to strike the ball with the inside of the foot or with the laces. Striking the ball with the instep is more accurate, however there is an accuracy to power trade-off. With the dawn of modern football design, this does not really matter as much, as you can still hit the ball with power using the side of the foot. One of the fastest World Cup penalty kicks ever recorded was by Hulk. No, not that Hulk. He hit the ball at 84 miles per hour. He may have left a dent in Claudio Bravo, but it certainly was not one on the score sheet.
And then finally we want to try and contact the ball at its centre as much as possible so that we can emphasise ball velocity as opposed to putting spin on the ball and losing a bit of control there.
To a penalty taker, rhythm and routines are important. Owen Thomas has performed research looking at rhythm in tennis serves, golf swings and rugby penalty kicks. That having a consistent timing when kicking the ball is vital for high success rates. However, like the tennis serve, it is you versus the opponent, and that being consistent can make you look obvious as to what your intentions are to the goalkeeper.
To practice a routine, and the closer you get to the prize, the more the possibility that prize might be taken from your grasp. So the routine is something that you would practice on the training ground, and it's the routine of concentration. Because a penalty shootout involves really 3 or 4 main elements, which is your target, having a clear picture of your target, the rhythm, and that can almost become music. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hit, and your connection.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed my video. I've got 2 more of these on the penalty taking to come. One of them, the second part, is going to be about goalkeeping and goalkeeping technique and the sports science behind that. And the third section will be to do mainly with the psychology of penalty taking. I've also had a request to do one about cardiovascular fitness, which I shall get out as soon as possible. In the meantime, you can put a comment down below or any video you may want done. Alternatively, you can hit me up on Facebook or Twitter. I'm not that hard to find, so I look forward to your reply.